Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an IMDb certified podcast. This is Reservations. I'm Jeremy Blair.
And I'm Rain Wayland. Oh my god. We still need to find who did that.
No clue. By the way, we have an IMDb page. Go check it out.
Yes. Whoever did it, thank you. And also, sorry that we kind of took control and updated it. And not sorry because we kind of did the heavy lifting for you, but also thank you, because then that kind of led us down a rabbit hole. And now we have all of our other projects that we've done on IMDb.
Yep.
Did you see it corrected your name?
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to. I'm going to be honest, because
they haven't added my picture yet. So
it asked me for a reason, why the name change, and I was like, it's his birth name. Like, what do you want me to say?
Because he asked me to.
Because he asked me to.
I know him,
and I don't have anything better to do. But then Ashley brought up a good point. Since, as we've learned, anyone can put anything on IMDb.
Yes.
So how do studios prevent people from fucking with their shit?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think, people who frequent IMDb like we do appreciate the correct information that they've compiled, right? And so I think it's just or it could be just it's regulated. So someone is always looking, for things. But of course it would be mini somebody's, because it's a vast database.
I just had this thought. I think it's because once the studio uploads everything, they verify it. Because I remember seeing this, because I was trying to get your picture added, and I saw this thing that said cast/crew verification. Mm-hmm. And I guess once you verify it, you cannot make any more changes. And I was like, ooh, well, we're still updating it.
But by the way, those of you who are listening, Zach, who is probably the person that put this slander in there in the first place, but it doesn't matter. Feel free to put in any trivia you want. There is already a scathing, untrue trivia in there right now.
Let's hope future Rain has that just slowly go across the screen.
It's funny. So I don't know who added it, but good job. Keep it up. Make up some lore. We don't have any lore.
I literally, as soon as you said that, when you texted that, I literally out loud at work went, "Got him." And then everyone looked at me like,
technically the trivia is half true, because I do hate James Cameron, so that part is true. Yeah. Thinking anything positive about the movie is not true. So
Jesus.
Now, Rain.
Yes.
We won't get into details, because then we really would be scabs, but we did see Barbenheimer over the weekend.
Well, I learned that people, entertainment journalists, people who analyze film, we're not scabbing. We're allowed to do this.
Great. I can't believe you just call us journalists. That is that's not what we are, but I appreciate it.
Well, that's why I quickly pivoted to people who analyze film.
Sure.
And plus, we're not being paid by the studios.
That's true.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah, fuck studios. Hopefully the writers and the actors can get what they need to survive, and hopefully the studios will all crumble. So, that being said...
Well, hang on. Before we get into Barbenheimer, my buddy Quentin went to California for a family trip, and they did a studio tour of Warner Brothers, and he was texting me about it. And I was like, wait, they're doing studio tours right now?
That's bizarre.
And he was like, yeah, I think technically what we did was breaking the line. I was like, well, then that means you're a scab.
They crossed the line, yeah.
But I guarantee it's probably because Warner Brothers is trying to be like, no, everything's fine.
everything's
Come,
fine.
come in, come see where dreams are made.
But you know what I didn't think about, because of the strike, is those who, those actors who do podcasts. It's gone. Like my Sunny in Philadelphia podcast, I like, gone because they're not going to do new episodes because they're not working.
Which is interesting, but never mind. I answered my own question. You kind of answered my question for me because I said it's interesting because I listened to the Pod Meets World podcast, but they've still been uploading episodes. I mean, they went and picketed, but then they've been like uploading new episodes. But I guess
we'll see. But it's been 2 weeks, so I don't know.
Well, and also, before we actually get into Barbenheimer, Mom just got back from Comic-Con and she was telling me how, virtually no actors were there unless they were there promoting the things that they actually owned. Like, I didn't know this, but John Heater and TJ Miller own an animation company. So they were there promoting that because they own it. But like, actors couldn't be there. They couldn't talk about past projects. They couldn't talk about future projects. So it's like, what's even the point to go?
I know why you.
And then, as I learned, they had, I guess they brought in YouTubers as moderators for certain panels. Because like one YouTuber, like Nakey Jakey, moderated the Talk to Me panel with the directors. So
weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. So hopefully, again, like you said, the actors and the writers get paid what they deserve, and we can start getting better content out of the studios for it.
So
Barbenheimer, buddy.
Yeah.
So
Oppenheimer. It was amazing.
It was literally everything I wanted. It's like, and it did not disappoint. And I love that we just go. Christopher did not waste any time. Didn't waste any time with setup. He just like, no, we're going. And we're not stopping for 3 hours. And I was sold, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It was incredible. And he said that obviously the explosion is not CG, right?
Right.
We knew that. But he said there's no CG. Which means the other stuff, we won't get into it because that's spoilers, but there are some stuff in there that you think might be CG and he is claiming they are not. Which I can see how it's possible for it not to be. I mean, it's not impossible, it's just a lot of work.
Yeah, well, and as we've learned, Christopher Nolan, he puts in that work.
Yeah.
He puts in that time.
Now, unfortunately, I was not able to see it in 70 millimeter, but it is possible to see it in 70 millimeter. And it's sold out for like months.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you guys were able to, because obviously we did not, as Midland had a theater shut down, even though their IMAX theater wasn't 70 millimeter IMAX, it was just standard IMAX. So we had to see it at Synergy, but that's on a Dolby Atmos screen, which it still looked amazing. But I do wish we could have seen it in the 70 millimeter.
It would have been really cool. The film stock weighs 600 pounds, and it's 11 miles long, I think is what he said.
You could bench press that.
Sure. 600? Easy. On each side?
No problem.
And of course, if you could tilt your camera down a little bit.
Yes.
Barbie was also awesome.
Oh, yeah, dude. It also was everything I wanted it to be and more. Like, the humor was great. The message was great. And of course, the big thing is the cast worked so well together.
Yes. I think the highlight, I think most people would say it would be Margot Robbie, but it's obviously Ryan Gosling is the
Yeah.
highlight.
Dude, he stole
He's
every
so
scene
good.
he was in. But I also just love all the different Kens, but they're, because that joke I really like, that they're all Barbie and they're all Ken.
Yeah.
Even though
Except
they
for
look
Alan.
different. Yeah. Oh my God. In every scene, I thought for sure Michael Cera was just going to show up for like 2 scenes, but he's like throughout the whole movie, and I was like, dude, give me more Alan.
I think most people would like Barbie. Go see it. I think most people would like it. I think it's great.
And I just want to say this.
I would just want to say most people are going to love Barbie. Okay, it's fun. It's light. It's bright. It's fun. It's funny. I think some people might have a hard time with Oppenheimer just because of the length of the movie itself. So be cautious, but trust me, those 3 hours are going to fly by. It was amazing. So
yeah. And I just wanted to add to the caution as well, but this is for Barbie, and I'm going to try and make it less political.
Let's find out.
Please go in with an open mind. I mean, I know there's already all these. What are you doing?
I'm paying attention.
Yeah, I know. I already know there's all these posts of people saying the movie's too political, and I'm like, just go in with an open mind, and you'll love it. Like, I didn't hear a single negative thing when we saw it last night. So just all I ask, even though no one's listening, just go in with an open mind. That's it.
Yeah.
And you'll love the movie. And the movie is fun, and the soundtrack slaps. I listen to the soundtrack all day today. It slaps. So Greta Gerwig, thank you.
Yeah.
So, buddy, what are we talking about today? Your final pick of the season.
That's right. This week we are discussing Fritz Lang's 1953 film noir, The Big Heat.
So, as you said last week, this was a first time for you. Yes. So, what did you think? Did it pay off?
Okay, so here's how I normally do things. Okay. I normally I find time to watch it on a Thursday or a Friday. I saw this movie 2 hours ago.
So you pulled a Rain.
I did. I normally don't do that. We were so busy this weekend that I literally had no time to watch it. We were just going and going and going all weekend long. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, you may have saw that I was tagged in. One of Haley's best friends came into town, and we went rock climbing. So that was one of the things we did. So we were super busy. Crushed it, by the way. Thank you for asking. But so yeah, I watched it 3 hours ago or 2 hours ago. So what did I think?
Yes,
I really liked it.
Okay, good.
I really liked it. I thought the story was compelling. It kept me intrigued. There was, you're constantly trying to figure out is there actually something going on? Is he crazy? And then of course shit goes down and you're like, okay, obviously something's going down. But now he has to figure it out, right? And then remembering what happened before and trying to tie that back to the information you now have, it was great. Unexpected in the way everything unfolded, and who got to do what was really interesting, and who really saved the day is sort of interesting, because it definitely wasn't our Sergeant Dave who really saved the day. So it was really interesting, and I liked it. It's a good ending, I think, for this Fritz Lang-athon that we've been doing. So.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little worried because, again, we had some duds with Fritz, so I was like, fuck, I don't want this last one to be a dud.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it, and like I was sold the minute it started,
Mm-hmm.
like, which we'll get into, but like opening with that, I was like, all
Yeah,
right, let's go, man. I'm
yeah,
in.
I know.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I especially liked how things escalated so quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and it really became a game of cat and mouse, and
Yeah,
you know, who's on the payroll, who's not, who can I trust, and I really enjoyed it too. Uh,
definitely.
and also, I was worried that it wasn't going to work on my PlayStation 5, but it was because since it's
Mm-hmm.
region B, right? The indicator.
No, mine is all region, so I don't know if yours is or not, but
I think it
mine's got
is. I don't remember.
the three letters on it. So,
Hang on, let me see.
oh my
Shit.
god, compelling to listen to.
No, I think see it has that. Oh no,
No,
yeah,
that's
A,
okay.
B, and C.
Yeah,
Yeah,
A,
it's
B,
on
and
the
C.
back.
Yeah, it's region print. Yeah,
Okay.
but it is an import, so I understand why you were worried.
Yeah, but yeah, I loved it, man. So, would you like me to hit everyone with that synopsis? Then we can
Yeah,
get into it.
let's do it one more time.
All right. Okay. The Big Heat, 1953. Stars. I didn't mean to say stars, but I already said it, so we're gonna go with it. Stars Glenn Ford as Sergeant. I have their names up because I watched this last night.
Oh.
Sergeant Dave Banyan. He is a homicide detective, trying to solve the supposed suicide of a fellow cop. And everything is pointing towards suicide until he meets the cop's mistress, and something just doesn't sit right with him. And then the mistress ends up dead. And so he starts to slowly uncover this web of conspiracy, of a crime organization that's essentially running the city. And in classic detective mystery format, he's threatened, told to drop the case, just leave it alone. But Dave is not only a good cop, but he's a good person. So, of course, he's not going to let it go. And winds up getting his wife killed, which was fucking insane.
Yeah.
And I desperately want to talk about that, which only sends him down the rabbit hole more to now a quest for revenge, because who killed my wife? And he gets help from the most unlikeliest ally, until it all culminates in, I guess you would assume, or if you would correct me if I'm wrong, a classic noir shootout,
Mm-hmm.
where Dave kind of helps put the syndicate to bed, and that's the Big Heat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's because, again, I didn't want to waste time on the small things because I really wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
But so where would you like to begin, buddy?
So, I mean, man, Fritz Lang really knows how to pull you in, because it starts off with a suicide, right?
Yeah.
Dude blows his brains out, and when his wife finds him, she finds this letter that's not addressed to her,
Mm-hmm.
and it's clearly addressed to, I think, like the district attorney or something, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so she's reading it, and then when the cops get there, and when Sergeant Banyan gets there, he tells one of the guys, "So there's no note or anything?" And the guy's like, "No, nothing." And you're like, "Yes, there was."
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're just like, right, because now
like,
something is already amiss, right? So
why wouldn't she give them this note?
Right, so she's obviously in on it. Now, what I liked what Fritz is doing in this film is, and at first it was sort of weird, right? I'll explain in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sort of weird every time we would go to this place, and it would feel kind of out of place. But I think I know why it's like this. So when Sergeant Banyan goes home to his wife and his daughter, it seems weird. Like it seems out of place because it's very like 1950s, like father knows best type,
Mm-hmm.
like family, like television. Like that's what it feels like
Right.
50s family television. Um, and so it's out of place because everything is sweet and nice and happy and quirky and sort of fun. And of course, it has to be that way because we need that emotion when it's taken away, right?
Right.
Um, and so at first, I was sort of like taken aback by these scenes of the Banyans because it
Mm-hmm.
just didn't fit with the overall noir, right?
Right.
And again, it being this film noir, I immediately was like, he's going to screw it up somehow. He's going to like find some bimbo, right, and then mess all this up, right? Because that's usually how these things go.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm really glad it never did. Like either way, like he's faithful to his wife the whole way, and I like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And not only faithful, he's, I love that he snaps at her and then he immediately is like, oh, I'm sorry. Like,
yeah,
I didn't mean that.
mhm,
And and again, you're right. It's because Fritz really wants us to understand that he's a family man
yeah.
first, a policeman second.
Like home is safe. Home is a safe place. It's a nice place to be. And then of
Mm-hmm.
course until it isn't, and then then
Yeah.
he's got to leave. I ended up really liking those scenes in retrospect. Like it really helps with the emotion of the film. Um, but but yeah, I mean, Sergeant Banyan he's really is like your stereotypical how people say it in the movies. He's a Boy Scout, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
loyal to his job, loyal to his family. He doesn't he doesn't take kindly to corruption or
Mm-hmm.
conspiracy, and so like he would never be sucked in anything like that, which is why he didn't know about it in the first place. Um, and what was interesting is when his trail led him to the crime boss.
Mm-hmm.
He knows all about him, right? Like he's like this isn't the first time they've met. This isn't the first time they've dealt with one another. This isn't the first time he's realizing he's a crime boss. Like this is just who he is. He was a bootlegger in the 1920s during Prohibition. So like he knows this guy,
Mm-hmm.
which I found fascinating because this is a time period where people his age in organized crime would have lived through that as a criminal if that's what they chose to do, right?
Right.
Which is I thought was really cool because being put in just 1953, the 1920s weren't that far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I thought that was cool. Anyway, so I liked that he's not discovering, oh my god, there's crime in the city. Of course there is, right? And he knows exactly who's doing it. But I don't think he
Mm-hmm.
realizes just how deep it goes or how far the web spreads, right?
Right. Yeah, I would agree because sorry, because he only goes to. I know his first name's Mike. Mike Lagana. He only goes to his house after he gets the threatening telephone call at home
Mhm.
that you need to drop this. And so, I would agree that he just assumes like, okay, so maybe I'm just encroaching on Mike's latest hustle or something like
Mhm.
that. And yeah, he doesn't realize how deep the conspiracy really goes until the
I-
catalyst of
Yeah, I think once he's well, yeah. Um,
yeah.
so quick story. I'm watching the movie.
Okay.
Um, I'm I'm about at that part, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm about 40 minutes in, maybe,
Yeah.
and Haley comes home. She brings food. Thank God I was starving. It was Taco Bell, by the way,
Nice.
and
Did you get a crunch wrap?
yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh wait, no, I got a cheesy gordita crunch. It doesn't matter,
Oh,
but
even better.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're eating, and again, she has not been watching this movie. She's not even paying attention.
Uh-huh.
She looks up, and it's the scene where they're at home, and the wife, Mrs. Banyan's about to leave, and he's tossing her his keys or whatever, and they have that nice little fun stupid moment. And Haley goes, "She's gonna die," and I go, "You don't know that." And also, maybe I don't know. And then the car blows up, and of course, it's setting it up perfectly. And I know I saw it coming that he's obviously not driving, and we're making a big deal about it that he's tossing her his keys, and she's gonna get in the car. And I love that we hear the door close and the car start. Right,
Mm-hmm.
the audio language of that is really cool, and I like that. We stay with Dave Banyan with his daughter, and we're giving her enough time to exit the house and go to the car and turn it on while being distracted by him having this nice sweet moment with his daughter, and then the car explodes.
Well, I thought for sure that she was going to survive because he pulls her out of the car. And of course, I know it's 1953. They're
Yeah.
not going to show her on fire.
Right.
But I thought for sure, I was like, she's not on fire. She's fine. And then the very next scene, like, um, you know, well, something about the funeral. And I was like, oh shit, she died. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Fritz Lang's not holding back.
No. So that was wild, right? So once
Yeah.
his wife dies, and he's talking to the police commissioner, and the police commissioner is being super shady. I think that's where he's like, all right,
Because do they fire him or suspend him?
well, they suspend him because they weren't going to, but then he keeps pushing, and then he makes insinuations that they're working for
Lagana.
Lagana, that they're working for Lagana, right? And that
Mhm.
he keeps making insinuations that they're in his pocket, and of course they're offended by that, but also knowing that it's true, and then they suspend him, and then he quits. Um, so,
Yeah.
so here's
So
where things
yeah.
get interesting in terms of what this movie could have been, right?
Okay.
So, the character of Debbie Marsh, um, who
Yes.
is the girlfriend or wife, I wasn't quite sure.
I think she's just girlfriend.
Okay, Vince Stone, right?
Long time casual girlfriend.
Okay, um, and so she's dating Vince Stone. Vince Stone is the right hand man of Lagana, right?
Mm-hmm.
And um, and she's sort of this tough, silly, kind of dumb, but assertive woman who becomes very integral to the plot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Originally, they wanted Marilyn Monroe,
Oh.
but the studio that she was working for at the time, and I think it was either Warner Brothers.
I thought she
Um,
was I
it
thought she
may
was contracted with MGM.
it may have been MGM. I don't really remember, but the studio said you can have her, but for you to use her, it costs this much, and they're like, no,
Like,
that's insane.
no thank you.
Yeah, like that's insane. We'll get someone else, thank you. But think about what this movie could have been. It wouldn't have been her first film noir. That would have been, I think, The Asphalt Jungle. Um, but it would have been really interesting because I think that would have. I don't know. I may have rooted for her more if it had been Marilyn Monroe. But that's my personal
Well,
opinion.
no, I know. I see what you're saying. Because Debbie, would you say in terms of classic noir tropes, would you say Debbie's our femme fatale?
I think so because she is a dangerous woman, but not necessarily for our protagonist, not for Banyan,
Mm-hmm.
but for herself and other people around her, right? So she's
Right.
not making things necessarily worse for Banyan. She is sort
Just
of trying to seduce Banyan a little bit, which is weird, and Banyan's having none of that. Um,
cuts that shit off now.
but which I respected. But which would have made the story very boring if they had become entangled in like love
Romantically
affair.
entangled.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Would
agree.
have
I
liked that.
agree. I like that she sort of like he sort of becomes her confidant, you know, that he takes care of her after Vince, which we'll get into. Hopefully, you know, Vince fucking scalds her with coffee.
Yes.
Um,
So, fun fact: if you Google the Big Heat Twilight Time, Twilight Time is a now defunct um, physical media um, releaser. That's not the right word. But anyway,
distributor.
thank you. And they would release films that, I have a couple of them. They're extremely hard to find. They're very expensive. But the one for the Big Heat was a coffee pot. It was the cover of
That's cool.
the Blu-ray, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, so what's fascinating about Debbie is that she really is the one who defunks the crime syndicate. She's the one
Mm-hmm.
that unravels them, which is mind blowing, because this entire time you think that she's just a side character. She's motivation current motivation for Banyan to get this done because Vince is going to kill her eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't stop any of this, she's going to keep getting hurt, and that's no good because he wants to protect everybody. He's a Boy Scout. We've established that already, right? She's
Right.
not a bad person. She's just entangled with bad people, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then when she fucking kills that woman, what is her name?
Something
Duncan.
Duncan.
Yeah,
Bertha.
Bertha Duncan.
Bertha Duncan.
When she
Yeah.
kills Bertha Duncan, I thought, okay, well, if she killed Bertha Duncan, then I immediately thought, okay, then it's not going to work. Then her dying isn't going to do anything, right? I only
Mm-hmm.
thought that because that's not how the story is supposed to go. The story is supposed to go either Banyan is supposed to kill her or have her arrested and make her
Tell him where the
divulge where the documents are, where the letter is. And when she does it, when she kills Bertha, I was like, then now what? Now what else? Because that was
yeah.
your only thing, and it
Well,
fucking worked.
yeah, well, and I thought for sure a part of me wasn't fully sold that Debbie had turned over a leaf.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh
Okay.
fuck, I was like, oh man, she just killed Bertha.
Yeah.
With Dave's gun because he left it to her. So I was like, fuck, like she's gonna get him framed.
Yeah.
And this is how they're gonna get to him. But no, and I actually appreciated the fact that this pretty much helps Dave
Mm-hmm.
not only in the investigation but in his kind of quest for justice for his wife.
Yes. It didn't go. So the movie didn't veer too far in sort of like our theme of last week, which is vengeance overtaking you, right, and becoming this unstoppable evil force within you, and it taints everything and everyone around you, right? That was sort of last week.
Right.
This time I was like, it's kind of like that because he is going a little overboard especially with Bertha. He was going to choke her,
Yeah. Well,
that was pretty wild. But he never gets too crazy. It never drives him nuts, right?
yeah. Even
like we saw in Scarlet Street, right? Like he never went nuts with his vengeance.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely just wants justice.
Mm-hmm.
If that means he's gonna have to get a little dirty, then that's what he's gonna have to do. But he's not going to, not Sweeney Todd level. He's not gonna let it. And I think it's because, if we're gonna do a comparison to last week,
sure.
I think it's because Dave has his daughter.
Yeah.
And so he has someone who needs him. as where Sweeney lost his daughter. So as you brought up last week, he probably had the mindset of it's better if she doesn't know me.
Yeah.
So
But you're right.
his vengeance could consume him. As for Dave, I think he knew, like, I can't let this consume me. I'm gonna get an answer, but I can't let it eat away at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or who knows? Maybe we're both just reaching, and Fritz Lang is laughing at us and being like, "You dumb idiots! That's not what it's about at all."
But yeah, yeah, because even at the end where he had the perfect opportunity to kill Vince, he didn't do it.
Nope.
Right?
He gave him to the cops and
Yeah.
said, take him in. This is all you'll need.
Yeah. At the cost of Debbie, of course. Debbie died.
Yeah, dude. And if we're gonna talk about that real quick, I thought for sure she was gonna make it out. Like, after I realized when I realized what she was doing, of course the movie kind of spells it out for us why she's doing this. I was like, okay, great. She's on Team Dave. She's trying to help Dave. But I was like, why is she just walking away? She got what she wanted out of Vince. Why isn't she leaving?
Yeah.
Because then she just walks where he could easily shoot her.
Mm-hmm.
But, now saying this out loud, I'm wondering if maybe that was her plan. Maybe she knew she wasn't going to make it out alive.
Maybe. Or maybe she just, the heat of the moment. Anyway.
That's the name of the movie.
No heat, because you got him with scalding hot coffee. It doesn't matter. All right? I don't need to explain my puns to you. But anyway. So maybe, like, in that moment, she threw the coffee in his face, right? Which means she would have had to show up, like, super early and make the coffee. But she threw the coffee in his face, and then she was like, I did it, finally, like, fuck you, I got him back, whatever. And then she was like, she didn't even think about, oh, wait, he's got a gun on him all the time. Yeah. Or you're right, maybe she was just like, whatever, I'm not getting out of here alive. I scalded him with hot coffee, let's go.
Well, see, because it makes me wonder if that was her plan, like, I know I'm not going to make it out alive, at least they can get him on a murder charge, and because they'll have proof. But then again, that kind of, my theory gets shot down because she asks Dave, am I going to die?
Mm-hmm.
So I think yours is more right. I think she was riding that I got you back high, and didn't think, like, oh wait, he's got a gun, I should probably get out of here.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least Dave kind of showed up. Not really to rescue her, but to, close the lid on that kibosh that way. Yeah, and I thought for sure he was going to kill Vince, like 100%.
Yeah, of course.
I was like, he's going to do it. He's going to kill Vince. But no, I think with kind of what you've been saying, I think the movie is better that he didn't.
Yes, I agree.
That Dave took the hard way, said, no, you're going in alive. You're getting arrested. We've got evidence against you. There we go.
Yeah. And that, he kept his values, right? He kept what he considers to be right. He kept those intact instead of going against his better judgment and, letting his vengeance take over, who he is, right? Which is a good person.
Right.
There's something else I was going to say about that. I don't remember what it was. Damn. I wasn't expecting the prosthetic burn on her face.
Neither was I.
Yeah.
I thought for sure we would just see Debbie with the bandage on the whole movie.
Yep.
And that looked really good, man. Really, really good.
It wasn't bad.
I thought for sure was like, man, they must have actually burned her with real coffee because it looked good. And
It didn't look bad.
And maybe because since it was black and white is why it looked even better. I feel like if it was in color, maybe we
If it
could
was in
like
color, there's no way.
we could be like, oh yeah, there's the. But yeah, look, and I like that they actually had it all on her face and then
And
a little bit on her neck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I was not expecting that either.
So something that I wish I had looked into more, that I didn't, is that this movie is based on Saturday Evening Post serial stories, meaning
Yes,
stories that are serialized over a number of weeks in the Saturday Evening Post.
Yes, yeah, I saw that, and I also meant to look it up, but after I finished the movie, I continued doing laundry and playing Assassin's Creed.
Well, which may also be why the story is so good and so dense, because it's from long form storytelling. So
Right.
it's from unraveling a story 1 week at a time. And so you're getting this beat by beat film where you're starting to piece things together after you've been given some information that in retrospect you're like, oh, that makes sense, because that's why she took the letter, and that's why they don't know there's a note, and that's that's why he killed himself, because he was too far into the pocket of this guy, right? And he wanted it to all unravel, and the only way he knew how to do that was write this letter, kill himself, to make a scene, and that people would pay attention to it, right?
Yeah, real Stanley Uris right there.
Nice.
Okay, good. I'm like, wait, what if that was a too deep cut of a reference?
It wasn't. It was good.
Well, specifically chapter 2, because they made his suicide more of a heroic sacrifice than the actual just coward's way out.
Besides, this is a complete tangent, but besides the sewer and Adrian Mellon, that's how the book starts, is with Stanley Uris' death. So
really,
you don't have to get that far in the book to get to that. Yeah.
I started reading the book.
Well, you didn't get that.
I got 2 pages in, and I was like, oh fuck. We're talking about it, everyone.
Spit that out my nose.
But anyway, no, I agree. I think, well, obviously, I can't say I think. Obviously, that was, I don't remember his first name. I just know his last name is Duncan. That was obviously his plan. It's because, his mistress, I'm not going to look it up. His mistress was telling Banyan that, something was off with him, something was wrong. But then Banyan's like, but his wife is telling me that he was in good health. Like, why would he? I'm getting conflicting stories here. And I think that's what really sets him off. Like, okay, something's up. Like, you're telling me one thing, but she's telling me another. And she's telling all the police this.
And then, of course, she dies the next day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they caught up to her, Lagana and his men. Well, just Larry. Was his name Larry?
Yeah, his name was Larry, and all I could think of the whole time, and I'm gonna try and make this not sound awful.
Let's see.
But I did laugh when Lagana was criticizing how he's been killing people.
Yeah.
Like, you just dumped that girl, you got us all this unwanted attention, and then you kill his wife, and he's like, well, how was I supposed to know she was going to drive the car?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, credit to Larry. Yeah, like, how did he know that she was going to drive the car?
Yeah.
But I kind of chuckled to myself. I was like, man, he's criticizing how he's killing people.
Well, to Lagana's credit, I mean, it was sloppy. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, but then, as where, if you watch a Martin Scorsese movie, Goodfellas, they're just leaving bodies everywhere.
Sure, you're right. But yeah, you bring up a decent topic, which is the dialogue, because I loved the dialogue in this. It
Mhm.
was so quintessential 1950s that I really really liked it. Right.
I'm a little, just a little disappointed that no one said the word gumshoe. Even though I know that's not a 1950s term, I think that's like 1930s. But I was picking up on a lot of the
Just waiting for it.
1950s slang, and I was like, someone's got to say gumshoe,
Oh my god!
please.
You're just
And no
waiting for
one
it.
said it.
So sorry.
I know. Let me call it Fritz Lang's
His
grandkids.
yeah his estate just
Like, recut this film and someone dub over somewhere and say gumshoe.
ridiculous. That's silly.
Nah.
Um,
No, but no, I agree. I really love the dialogue. It reminded me a lot of Fury,
yeah.
in terms of how fast paced the dialogue was and how quick and how witty everyone was. They were
Mhm.
just back and forth, back and forth. Um, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, yeah, I love how it is very fast paced. I like the cadence of everyone's speaking voice, and I don't know, like it seems like a silly thing to talk about, but I like it. It that stuff sort of matters in how you see the movie and how you absorb the information, of course. And
Oh yeah,
I
no,
thought
I
it was
agree.
super. It was easy to follow. I'm like, am I going to get lost? Like, it's a pretty. I mean, it's a pretty dense story with all this stuff going on, and I hope I don't lose some information somewhere
Right.
because something isn't like spelled out for me too much, or if something is maybe laid out in a way with with jargon, with slang, with language from that time that I'm not familiar with, and that I'm going to lose it, right? Because a lot of
Right.
this is they talk in sort of metaphor, or they sort of beat around the bush with what they're talking about, but you still get it because of the context, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's always a concern for me watching these films is I want to understand everything and I want to enjoy it, right? But I also don't want to
Right.
be lost with context I don't have because of when I live, you know?
No, I get that. Yeah, yeah, because I know that there's, uh, you know, movies out there. Yeah, a perfect example, Odd Man Out. That is so
Mm,
not only of the times but of the region that you and I were both like,
yeah,
why does this matter?
right. And
Um,
the language they use, the jargon they use, and the context they use is you're like, I don't know, I don't know any of this.
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess I had to be there, you know.
I
Um,
had to be in Ireland in the what 30s,
40s, I think. Um,
47.
and so that's always a concern for me, but this one it was perfect. It was awesome. So I still got some of that cool 50s jargon and context, but without losing the story. The story was
Right.
still crystal clear.
Now, I do have some other small disappointments. Again, nothing that takes away from the movie that I really enjoyed it. But your theory, I don't remember if it was last week or when we did Scarlet Street. Um, there weren't a lot of Fritz Lang isms in this movie. It was just a straight crime noir.
Yeah.
I guess I would say the only Fritz Lang isms were the violence, really. The
Yeah.
opening with a suicide
Mm-hmm.
and the fucking car bomb.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm like, are we gonna get some like overlays, or we're gonna get some cool like
Mm-hmm.
something? And I think you're right. This is his full blown drive right into noir.
But what's really interesting is we can start. I think we've covered everything. We can start doing what I wanted to do at the end of this episode,
Okay.
which is sort of a retrospective. Where do we start? Where are we now? What How has this filmmaker evolved over time? Which is kind of what I wanted to do with this series anyway. Which is sort of see where he started, where we're sort of finishing in his career. I think he had 6 movies after this, which seems like a lot, but with his filmography, it's not.
Because his last one was a Dr. Mabuse film, right? And then he was done.
I think. I mean, it's been, I don't really remember what his last one was, but so okay, I want you guys to remember, those of you listening at home, you watched this movie, okay? Hopefully, I want you guys to remember, this guy made Metropolis. Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to season 2. I think is when we did Metropolis.
This guy made Destiny. This guy, he made Dr. Mabuse. This guy made M. To me, it's just such a different. I think when I don't know if he was his best during the silent era. I think that's a good argument. I wouldn't be upset if someone said his best work was when he was doing silent films, because what Fritz Lang excelled at was not only his visual style, but also his inventiveness, his creativity, his way of pushing the medium to a new edge, right? So like here's the edge of where cinema is. Here's what you can do with the camera, and he just pushed the ledge a little bit further. He goes, "No, it's not. It's over here." Right?
Right.
I can actually do a lot more than you think. Right?
I'm not saying I disagree. I agree. I'm going to add to that. I would say the silent film era is where he got to experiment a lot.
Yeah.
Because, he didn't have to worry about sound until we get, I mean, I know not specifically with M, but when he started doing talkies, then he was like, okay, now I've already experimented with the camera. I know what we can do with the camera. Let's experiment with sound. What can we do with sound? And now, yes, we did have some duds with Ministry of Fear. And what was the other one? Spies?
Yeah, you and I didn't think Spies was his best, but of course that was a silent film. But, but I mean, we didn't like it as much. Zach liked it better than Dr. Mabuse. So I mean, there's obviously, that's not like a definitive opinion, but yeah, I think his best is M. That's just my personal opinion. I think it goes M and then Metropolis and whatever. We can do that forever. But I think the further he gets into his sound era and his noir eras, I don't know. It seems to me like he really narrowed in on this film noir thing, which works in his favor. I think that his way of telling stories, the types of stories he wants to tell, and the way he wants to tell them lends perfectly to film noir. Like we discussed many years ago in our film noir episode.
That's for sure a season 1 episode.
It started with German Expressionism. And so he comes from that background. And so, of course, noir is a perfect transition to that. Did he bring all of his creativity and gusto to a lot of these later sound films? I don't think so. Not necessarily a bad thing. It may have been even distracting.
This is something, that's something I asked you last week is, do you think it was him having to deal with, American filmmaking versus, I guess you'd say, the freedom he had when he was filming his films in Germany?
I mean, yes, we have had discussions of him fighting with studios over small details that, I mean, we say small, but they matter, right? In terms of, like ending, I'm still so mad about it. Ending Ministry of Fear with a joke, that's got to be a studio decision. right?
What? Cake? Yeah.
It's got to be, right? Like that's not Fritz Lang. Fritz Lang doesn't do that. Fritz Lang
Yeah.
throws an actor down the stairs 17 times until he gets the perfect shot, and he doesn't apologize. That's Fritz Lang. You know,
Yeah.
he, he he makes these films that are powerful, in your face, and tell a dark story. That's Fritz Lang.
Hmm.
So to have to deal with the American studio system, I think does change the way he makes films, in not necessarily in a terrible way. I really like Scarlet Street. I really like The Big Heat. I really liked Fury. Like you know, these are good examples of his American films. I heard Cloak and Dagger wasn't very good. I've read reviews on that. I think that's with Gary Cooper. Um, so and of course we hated Ministry of Fear. I will go ahead and say I
Yeah.
hated it, even though the seance was amazing. That scene was incredible, but
It was the most Fritz Lang
yeah,
of the entire film.
mm-hmm. Exactly. Um, but again, I think maybe once we get this far, and once he's starting to tell these film noir stories, straight noir, I think putting these, what we refer to as Fritz Langisms, these overlay shots, these sort of movie magic shots,
Mm-hmm.
high production, high visual value shots don't make sense in The Big Heat, right?
Right.
There's no place for it. There was a place for it in Fury, with him looking in that window and seeing the reflections of all those people. That works, right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of works for Scarlet Street with the hyper stylized courtroom stuff, in the witness stands. That works. Big Heat, maybe not so much.
Well, and kind of like what you've been saying with the type of stories that Fritz Lang was wanting to tell, though I feel like those two, specifically Scarlet Street and Fury, had a lot of theatrics in it,
Mhm.
of characters, lying or getting revenge. But as were The Big Heat is more of a grounded story. So I think he recognized, like, well, I can't have a theatrical direct to camera monologue from
Mhm.
any actor. Like, we have to keep it contained, which I think is another reason why you and I liked it so much, that it was in and of itself, it had Fritz Lang isms, even though if there weren't any that directly stood out.
Mhm. And this was a bunch of fun. So getting to see, and it's so fascinating, getting to see a filmmaker's journey, right,
Mm-hmm.
throughout his filmography, was so much fun. It's fascinating to see the way that their style evolves and changes and ebbs and flows, and what they keep over time, what they lose over time, um, what and if something changes, what was it that changed it, right? Because
Right.
the where they are in terms of their career, their life, all that matters too, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
if Fritz Lang had never met his wife in Germany, forget it. Who knows what we would have had, right?
Right.
We wouldn't have gotten these amazing silent films,
Yeah,
probably,
definitely.
right? Even though she was horrible and a Nazi, but whatever.
Oh my God, was she really?
She ended up being.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we talked about that. That she
Well,
stayed.
thank God he was like, nope, I'm going to America.
I mean, she cheated on him a lot, but he cheated on her a lot. So I mean, it's whatever.
Well, then I guess, then the icing on the cake is at least he wasn't a Nazi.
That's right. Title of the episode.
At least he wasn't a
At least he
Nazi.
wasn't a Nazi.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, like, I do recommend people do this, because it's fun to sit and just watch a director's filmography in a row. Not necessarily all of it, because that would take forever, especially with Fritz Lang. He has so many silent films that we didn't even talk about, right?
Yeah.
That are completely different from the ones we did talk about. He's got some fantasy epics and action adventures in there that have nothing to do with crime, right?
Yeah.
That are fascinating. But like, let's take like Scorsese. We could have done, Scorsese and do those, right? And see how
Yeah,
they
but
change things.
I feel like we've done that. We've done his crime films, but
Sort of,
also sort of,
sort of.
but we've also done, Raging Bull is technically a sports movie,
That's true.
and then we've got Silence, which is a spiritual film,
Yeah, you're right.
So
And oh my god,
but we could have.
and I can't wait for Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh my god, it's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be great, but it'd be cool,
Um,
Like, and with Tim Burton, we'll talk about it next week. But
Yep.
his change and what he's evolved into, right,
Yeah.
is interesting. So it's just cool. This was a good idea. I don't know who had this idea, but it was a good idea.
I think it actually was my wife, Ash. I want to say Ashley was like, y'all should pick one director each and just do that. And then I think we took that idea and we're like, okay, we'll go in chronological order of their filmography.
I think that was a good idea, to go in chronological order and not jump around.
Yeah, I think my original idea was I was going to jump around. I was going to start with not necessarily my least favorite, but the one I watched the least, and then go. But then I think when you sent me your list and your list was in chronological order, I was like, okay, no, we'll do it in chronological
order. And
a
part of me wanted to do it in chronological order for this reason, just to see the trajectory of their film career, right? And where their creativity and storytelling went, right, from A to Z.
Right.
So again, it blows my mind that the director of The Big Heat directed Metropolis. It's like it's like you could end a career with Metropolis and be done and you'd be fine, right?
Yeah.
You could never have to work again, because that's like the greatest science fiction film ever made. One of the greatest films ever made. And then he does these home run film noirs that are less grand in scope, right? And they're still really good. I don't know. It blows my mind that it's the same person.
Well, it's like I was trying to think of another good example, but there's so many good ones out there. I mean, again, it's like Christopher Nolan. He makes 3 Batman comic book movies, and then turns around and makes Interstellar.
Yeah.
This epic sci-fi adventure, and then makes Dunkirk a historical drama.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, Nolan's an interesting case.
Yeah,
because he does have a
definitely for sure. I mean, we've done Dunkirk, but
That's
definitely
true.
Definitely Tenet, Interstellar.
Don't count
for sure.
Don't count more Nolan out from us, because we'll definitely talk about more Nolan.
Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, man. Well, I assumed we have wrapped up, which is a good segue into my final pick of the season. So to close out the Tim Burton side of this season, next week we are talking about the 2014. Is it a biodrama?
Yeah, it's a biopic.
We're just gonna say biopic. Big Eyes. This is one of Tim's movies that I've never seen. I have wanted to see, especially considering that it is highly, I think one of his highest rated films, and I think almost got an Oscar for it.
Oh, interesting.
Oh my God, hang on. It was nominated for
A couple BAFTAs.
It won Golden Globe for Amy Adams won for Best Actress. I don't see anything for the Academy Awards.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, all I know is that it's based on a true story of this woman who paints a specific style of paintings, and her husband decides that he's going to help her and essentially takes all the credit for himself. And
what movie does that sound like, right? Kind of sounds like Scarlet Street.
Oh. But reversed. Yeah.
Oh, and Alex.
Yeah.
Jason Schwartzman is in. I haven't pulled up.
But yeah, I'm really excited, and of course the cast sold me. Also, Amy Adams, Christoph Waltz. I was like, I'm sold. Like,
and Danny
it's
Houston.
a Tim Burton movie.
Fucking love Danny Houston. So,
but yeah, I'm interested to see the movie itself, but also to close out Tim's progression throughout this season as well. And then we're in the end of season series, which I'm super excited for.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. So you guys buckle up for that too, because that's going to be good. I promise.
Yeah. Well, I guess we will call it there. Everyone, we hope you enjoyed the Big Heat, and we will see you next week for Big Eyes.